The crystal chandeliers of the Riverside Hotel ballroom cast dancing shadows across champagne flutes and designer dresses. I stood near the bar, watching my husband David work the room like he owned it. In a way, he did. His architecture firm had designed half the buildings in the city, and tonight's charity gala was his stage. That's when I saw her. Blonde, mid-20s, wearing a dress that left little to imagination. She'd been hovering near David for the past 20 minutes, laughing too loudly at his jokes, leaning in too close when he spoke. I recognized her. Amber, the new junior architect he'd mentioned casually over dinner last week. Talented, he'd said. Eager to learn. I bet she was. I watched as Amber's hand landed on David's forearm, fingers trailing slowly down to his wrist. He didn't pull away. Instead, he smiled, that devastating smile that had made me fall in love with him 12 years ago. Her other hand found his chest, smoothing his lapel as she whispered something in his ear. My champagne glass trembled in my hand. David glanced my way, caught my eye for a brief second, then looked back at Amber. No guilt, no embarrassment, just indifference. Something cold settled in my chest, replacing the heat of anger with something far more dangerous. Clarity. I set down my glass and crossed the ballroom, heels clicking against marble. As I approached, Amber's hand dropped from David's chest, but not quickly enough. "Darling," I said, voice honey-sweet, "I have the most terrible headache. Would you mind terribly if I took the car home?" David's relief was palpable. "Of course, honey. I'll catch a ride with Marcus later." I kissed his cheek, tasting expensive cologne and lies. "Don't stay out too late." As I walked away, I heard Amber's breathy laugh resume. In the parking garage, I sat in our Mercedes, hands gripping the steering wheel. I didn't cry. Crying was for women who didn't know what to do next. I knew exactly what to do. I pulled out my phone and opened David's cloud storage, the one he thought I didn't know the password to. 12 years of marriage teaches you things. His email synced automatically, including his private account. The messages loaded slowly, each one a nail in his coffin. "Can't wait for Chicago next week. Last night was incredible. She suspects nothing. 6 months. They'd been carrying on for 6 months. I scrolled through photos, hotel rooms, restaurant tables, her wearing jewelry I recognized from our joint account. My jaw clenched. Not just an affair. He was flaunting it, spending our money, building a whole secret life. I downloaded everything, every message, every photo, every receipt. Then I started making calls. I didn't go home that night. Instead, I checked into the Continental Hotel downtown, requesting their business suite. The concierge didn't ask questions. My tear-stained makeup and trembling hands told their own story. But I wasn't crying from heartbreak anymore. I was crying from rage. By 2 a.m., I had 3 laptops open, my phone charging, and a bottle of wine I hadn't touched. Organization was key. Emotion was the enemy. I created folders, evidence, contacts, timeline, strategy. The evidence was damning. David had been sloppy, arrogant, really. Messages detailing not just the affair, but business deals he'd closed using entertainment with Amber. Dinners with potential clients where she'd played the role of arm candy, helping seal contracts worth millions. He'd even joked about it in texts. "She's better than any pitch deck." That was the thread I'd pull. I cross-referenced his calendar with credit card statements. Chicago wasn't a conference. It was a 4-day vacation at the Peninsula Hotel. San Francisco wasn't a site visit. It was wine tasting in Napa. Every business trip had been a romantic getaway, all expense to the firm. My phone buzzed. David, finally noticing I'd actually left. "Hey babe, you okay? I'm heading home soon." I typed back. "Feeling better. Took some medicine. Don't wake me when you get in. Love you." I stared at those 2 words until they meant nothing. The contacts folder grew. I had names, email addresses, phone numbers. David's business partner, Robert Chen. Their 3 biggest clients, Meridian Properties, Blackstone Development, and the Riverside Restoration Project. His parents. His college buddies. The board members of the Architecture Association where he was up for president. everyone who mattered to him. I researched Amber next. 26, graduated top of her class from Cornell, hired directly out of grad school. No social media presence, smart girl, but not smart enough. I found her LinkedIn, her professional portfolio, her published thesis on sustainable urban design. She wanted to be taken seriously in a male-dominated field. How noble. By dawn, I had a complete dossier. Times, dates, locations, financial irregularities, ethical violations. David hadn't just cheated on me. He'd been using company resources, potentially violating client trust, and definitely breaching professional conduct codes. My phone rang. Unknown number. Mrs. Reeves? This is Patricia from the front desk. There's a gentleman here insisting he's your husband. Tell him I'm not here, I said calmly, and please ensure my room number remains confidential. Of course, ma'am. Through the window, I watched the sunrise paint the city gold. David had built his empire in this city. Every building that bore his firm's name was a monument to his ego. By tonight, they'd all be monuments to his downfall. I opened my email and began drafting messages. Each one was carefully crafted, professional, concerned, the worried whistleblower who'd discovered something troubling. To Robert Chen, evidence of misappropriated company funds and potential client conflicts of interest. To Meridian Properties, documentation suggesting their exclusive architect had been sharing confidential design plans with competitors. To the Architecture Association Ethics Board, a detailed report of professional misconduct, complete with time-stamped evidence. I didn't send them. Not yet. Timing was everything. David came home around 3 a.m. that first night. I heard him stumble in, probably drunk, probably reeking of her perfume. He didn't check on me. The guest room door stayed closed. I lay in the dark, listening to him move through our house like a stranger. The next morning, I emerged refreshed, makeup perfect, wearing his favorite blue dress. "Good morning, darling," I said brightly, pouring coffee. "How was the rest of the gala?" He looked surprised, then relieved. "Good. Raised a lot of money. Sorry I got in so late. You know how these things go." "Of course." I handed him his coffee. "You have the Chicago trip this week, right?" "Wednesday through Friday. Just some boring meetings." He kissed my forehead, tasting like lies. "I'll make it up to you when I get back. Maybe that restaurant you love?" "That sounds wonderful." I watched him drive away in his Tesla, then immediately called my lawyer. Sharon Matthews had handled my mother's estate. Brilliant, ruthless, discreet. "I need to protect my assets," I told her, quietly. "Divorce?" "Eventually. But first, I need to ensure he can't hide anything." "Come in today. Bring everything." Sharon's office smelled like leather and justice. She reviewed my evidence with the emotional detachment of a surgeon examining an X-ray. "This is extensive," she said finally. "The affair is one thing, but the business misconduct." She looked up. "This could destroy his career." "I know." "Are you sure? Once this starts, there's no going back." I thought of Amber's hand on his chest, his indifferent glance in my direction. 6 months of lies. "I'm sure." Sharon nodded. "We'll need to move carefully. First, we protect you financially. Then," she smiled coldly, "then we let him bury himself." Over the next 2 days, I became a ghost in my own life. I documented everything. Came home early from shopping to find evidence he'd had Amber in our house. Lipstick on wine glasses he'd forgotten to wash. Blonde hairs on pillows I'd never used. I photographed it all. Wednesday morning, I drove David to the airport. "You're being so sweet," he said, genuinely puzzled by my attentiveness. "I just want to make sure you know I love you," I replied, the words ashes in my mouth. At the terminal, he kissed me deeply, a performance for any observers. "I'll call you tonight." "I'll be waiting." I watched his plane take off, then drove directly to his office. "Mrs. Reeves." The receptionist looked startled. "Mr. Reeves is traveling." "I know. I'm here to see Robert. He's expecting me." He wasn't, but Robert Chen was too polite to turn away his partner's wife. Elena, what a surprise. Is everything all right? I closed his office door. I need to show you something. It's about David. I laid out the evidence like cards in a winning hand. Robert's face went from confusion to shock to horror. These expenses, he told me these were legitimate client development. They weren't. And this woman, she works here. Yes. Robert ran his hands through his hair. Elena, I don't know what to say. Jesus, this is a nightmare. If the clients find out, if the association discovers he violated ethics codes while using firm resources. I know. Why are you showing me this? I met his eyes. Because you're a good man, Robert. Because you deserve to know your partner has been putting your firm at risk. And because I want you to have a chance to protect yourself before this becomes public. Public? His face paled. Elena, wait. It's already done, I said softly. I'm sorry, Robert. I truly am. But I won't let him destroy me without consequences. I left him sitting there, staring at the evidence of his partner's betrayal. By the time David landed in Chicago, the dominoes were already falling. David called that night from his hotel room, the Peninsula, just like the receipts showed. In the background, I could hear Amber's laugh, quickly muffled. Hey, honey, just got in. Long flight. I miss you already, I said, injecting just enough longing into my voice. Miss you too. Listen, dinner's running late, so I might not be able to call tomorrow. That's fine, darling. I understand. Work comes first. After we hung up, I poured myself wine and opened my laptop. The emails were scheduled to send at 6 a.m. Eastern Time, right when David would be having breakfast meetings. To Board of Directors, Architecture Association of America. Subject: Ethics Violation Report. David Reeves, AIA. To Jennifer Morrison, CEO, Meridian Properties. Subject: Confidential. Concerns. Regarding ongoing project. To Compliance Department, Blackstone Development. Subject: Possible conflict of interest, Reeves and Chen Architecture. Each email was professional, factual, devastating. Attached documentation, timestamped evidence. No emotion, just the cold truth of what he'd done. At 5:58 a.m., I stared at the screen. 2 minutes until my life changed forever. 1 minute. 30 seconds. I thought of 12 years of marriage, anniversaries, holidays, the miscarriage that had broken my heart while he'd been working late, probably with her even then. I thought of the future I'd planned, children I'd wanted, growing old together. All of it lies. The emails sent. I closed the laptop and went to bed. My phone exploded at 7:30 a.m. Robert calling frantically. Elena, what did you do? The ethics board just contacted me. Meridian pulled their contract. David's phone is going straight to voicemail. He's probably still asleep, I said calmly. It was a late night for him. This is insane. The board wants an emergency meeting. They're talking about revoking his license. Then I suppose he should have thought about that before sleeping with an employee and defrauding clients. Silence. Elena, I know you're hurt, but this will destroy him. Good. I hung up. David called at 8:15, voice panicked. Elena, what the fuck is happening? I have 17 missed calls from Robert. The ethics board is demanding I return to the city. Meridian is threatening legal action. I have no idea what you're talking about, I said innocently. What's wrong? Someone sent them. There are allegations. Fuck, they have emails, photos. He stopped. Where did you go the night of the gala? I came home. I had a headache, remember? Elena, I swear to God, if you had anything to do with this. With what, David? I don't even know what you're talking about. Maybe you should come home and explain it to me. I can't. I have to do damage control. Jesus Christ, this is a disaster. In the background, I heard Amber asking what was wrong. He didn't answer her. I'll be home tonight, he said. We need to talk. I'll be here. But I wouldn't be. By tonight, I'd be somewhere he'd never find me. I spent the day methodically packing. Not everything, just what mattered. Photos of my parents, jewelry my grandmother left me, documents Sharon said I'd need. Everything else could burn with him. At 3 p.m., Sharon called. The firm's in chaos. Chen is meeting with lawyers. 2 more clients pulled out. The association suspended his membership pending investigation. And Amber? Fired this morning. Security escorted her out. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no regret. Just empty. Elena, are you okay? I'm perfect, I said. Absolutely perfect. There's going to be fallout. He'll know it was you. Let him know. By 5 p.m., I was checked into a long-term rental across town. By 6 p.m., I'd changed my phone number. By 7 p.m., I was sitting in a new apartment that smelled like fresh paint and freedom, watching the news report on allegations rock prominent architecture firm. My old phone, the one David could track, sat on our kitchen counter. The one I'd answer when he called, crying, begging, threatening. But I had a new phone now, a new number only Sharon knew. David could scream into the void all he wanted. I was already gone. 3 months later, I sat in Sharon's office signing the final divorce papers. David hadn't contested. He couldn't afford to. The scandal had cost him everything. The firm dissolved. Robert Chen started over with a new partner, publicly distancing himself from David's ethical lapses. The 3 major contracts were canceled, costing millions in potential revenue. The Architecture Association revoked his license pending a full investigation that would likely take years. Amber disappeared from the industry entirely. Last I heard, she'd moved to Seattle, her Cornell degree and big ambitions reduced to working for a small residential firm. And David? David lost more than his career. His parents, conservative and religious, disowned him when the details emerged. His college friends, the ones who'd toasted at our wedding, promising eternal brotherhood, stopped returning calls. The country club revoked his membership. Invitations dried up. He'd built his identity on professional success and social standing. I'd taken both. You know he's been trying to contact you, Sharon said, sliding papers across her desk. Letters, emails to my office, even tried to show up at your mother's house. What does he want? Forgiveness, another chance, the usual. She paused. He blames you for everything. Of course he does. I signed my name with steady hands. That's easier than admitting he destroyed himself. Any regrets? I thought about the question seriously. Did I regret the marriage? The years invested? The love I'd felt before it curdled into something toxic? No, I said finally. I regret trusting him. But I don't regret making him face consequences. Sharon smiled. You're tougher than you look, Elena Reeves. Not Reeves anymore. I signed the final paper. Elena Morrison. I'm taking back my maiden name. Walking out of that office felt like shedding skin. The life I'd lived as Mrs. David Reeves, the charity galas, the fake smiles, the willful blindness to his flaws, all of it sloughed off. I drove to the waterfront, to the cafe where David had proposed 12 years ago. It seemed fitting. My phone buzzed. New email. From David, somehow finding my new address. Elena, please. I know I fucked up. I know I hurt you. But destroying my life wasn't the answer. We can fix this. We can go to counseling, start over. I love you. I've always loved you. Please give me another chance. I read it twice, then deleted it. A man approached my table. Tall, kind eyes, professor type with reading glasses. Excuse me, is this seat taken? It's all yours, I said, smiling. We got to talking. His name was James, taught literature at the university. Divorced 2 years ago. Kind, funny, real. When he asked for my number, I gave it to him. Elena Morrison, he said, testing the name. Pretty name. It's new, I admitted. I'm kind of new too. New is good, James said. New is possibility. That night, I stood on my apartment balcony watching the city lights. Somewhere out there, David was probably drinking himself stupid, bitter, and broken. Somewhere out there, Amber was rebuilding a career I'd demolished. Somewhere out there, the wreckage of lives I'd destroyed was still smoldering. I felt no guilt. He'd touched another woman while wearing my ring. He'd built a secret life with my money, my trust, my love. He'd looked me in the eye and lied for 6 months straight. What I'd done wasn't revenge. It was justice. The people who mattered, Robert, the clients, the professional association, they deserved to know who David really was. I'd simply shown them the truth. If the truth destroyed him, that was on him. My phone buzzed. James, texting. Great meeting you today. Dinner tomorrow? I smiled and typed back. I'd love that. Behind me, the past dissolved like smoke. Ahead, the future waited. Uncertain, terrifying, mine. I'd learned something that night at the gala, watching Amber's hand on my husband's chest. Some betrayals can't be forgiven. They can only be answered. And I'd answered with everything I had. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. They're wrong. Revenge isn't a dish at all. It's a reckoning. And I'd served it perfectly. 3 months later, I heard David had moved to Portland, working for a small firm designing strip malls. His parents still wouldn't speak to him. His friends had forgotten him. The woman he'd risked everything for wanted nothing to do with him now that he couldn't offer her career advancement. He'd lost everything that mattered to him. And I'd lost nothing I couldn't replace. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction. It's moving on so completely that the person who hurt you becomes irrelevant. But destroying them first? That helps too. The end.